Welcome to AI Book Highlights.
Hey there.
Today we're getting into Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World.
Yeah, it's a really timely one, I think. All about, actually concentrating.
Exactly. It tackles the skill of focused, uninterrupted work, which feels harder and harder to come by.
Uh-huh. So we're going to pull out the main ideas, the actionable bits, basically.
Right. The goal is to give you some solid takeaways you can use right away, whether you're like working on a big project, learning something new.
Or just trying to feel less scattered,
Hmm.
you know, find a bit more satisfaction in what you do.
Okay, so let's start with the core idea. What is deep work, according to Newport?
Right, so he defines it pretty clearly. It's professional stuff you do in a state of zero distraction, like pure concentration.
And it's supposed to push your cognitive limits,
Right.
not just coasting.
Exactly. That's the key. It's mentally demanding. And he contrasts this with shallow work.
Which is like admin emails.
Yeah, logistical things, stuff that doesn't really require intense brain power, often stuff you do while distracted.
Okay. And Newport argues deep work is becoming more important.
Hugely important and rare. He points out we're in this information economy, knowledge workers everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And the ability to actually focus deeply to produce high-quality cognitive output, that's becoming a kind of superpower.
He gives examples, right? Like Carl Jung.
Yeah, Jung building his stone tower like a retreat specifically for focused thinking. Or Jason Ben, who apparently locked himself away to really learn coding intensely.
Wow. So it's about prioritizing that focus time, even radically sometimes.
Pretty much. It's a core currency in this economy.
So if it's so valuable, why is it so rare? That's the
Mhm.
next big point, isn't it?
It is. And Newport points to a few, well, culprits. One big one is the trend towards open office spaces.
Yes. Facebook, Square,
Hmm.
places like that often champion them.
Right. The idea is collaboration, but the reality is often, constant interruption makes sustained focus really, really difficult.
It's kind of ironic, yeah. Designed for interaction, but maybe hinders deep thinking.
Definitely. And then there's the whole pressure to be constantly visible online.
Especially if you create things. Like
Yeah.
he mentions the New York Times encouraging reporters to tweet.
Exactly. Or the backlash against Jonathan Franzen when he criticized Twitter. There's this pressure to have a constant social media presence.
Which fragments attention, obviously.
Totally. And Newport talks about this principle of least resistance.
Okay, what's that?
Basically, if there isn't clear, immediate feedback on the impact of deep work versus shallow work, businesses, and individuals too, tend to drift towards what's easiest in the moment.
Like checking email constantly or instant messaging, the path of least resistance.
You got it.
Yeah.
Visible busyness. He mentions Atlantic Media actually calculating the cost of all their internal email,
Really? What did they find?
that the cost of free and frictionless communication was actually surprisingly high. It adds up.
Huh. So shallow work often looks like productivity, but might not be.
Precisely. Because metrics for knowledge work productivity are often fuzzy, visible activity answering emails fast. Being in meetings gets mistaken for real output.
And there's this underlying belief maybe that anything internet related is automatically good or productive.
That's another factor he brings up, yeah. This sort of techno-optimism sometimes overlooks the downsides, like the erosion of deep focus.
Okay, so it's rare, it's valuable. What are the actual benefits of making space for depth work beyond just getting more done?
Well, there are significant psychological benefits. Newport connects it directly to Milhi Csikszentmihalyi's concept of flow.
That state of being completely absorbed in something.
Exactly. That state is inherently satisfying. It feels good to be deeply engaged. He mentions Laura Gallagher's experience.
With cancer, right?
Yeah, and how that led her to see rapt attention, that deep focus, as really the best way to experience life. It adds richness.
That's powerful. And neurologically, does it change the brain?
Apparently, yes. He discusses how intense concentration is linked to myelination.
Myelin? That's the insulation around nerve fibers.
Right. And practicing intense focus seems to help build up that myelin sheath around the relevant neural circuits, making them faster and more efficient. Like practicing scales on a piano strengthens those connections.
So you're literally building a better brain for the skills you're working on.
That's the idea. And then there's Sophie Leroy's work on attention residue.
Attention residue, what's that?
It's the idea that when you switch from one task to another, like quickly checking email, your attention doesn't immediately follow. A residue of your attention stays stuck on the previous task.
So even a quick glance away hurts your focus on the main thing.
Significantly, it means switching tasks constantly is really inefficient. compared to sticking with one thing deeply for a block of time. Sequential deep work beats fragmented attention.
Makes sense. He also touches on philosophy, right?
Yeah.
Craftsmanship.
Yeah, drawing on Dreyfus and Kelly's book, All Things Shining, the argument is that craftsmanship, whether it's like traditional woodworking or modern computer programming,
Like the programmer Santiago Gonzalez, he mentions.
exactly, that dedication to skill and the appreciation of quality, that itself provides a deep source of meaning. And that kind of mastery requires deep work.
So it's not necessarily about having a rarefied job, but taking a rarefied approach to whatever work you do, finding meaning in the skill itself.
That's a great way to put it. Plus, he adds, being intensely focused can actually shield you from noticing life's little annoyances and anxieties. You're too absorbed.
Okay, sold on the benefits. How do we actually do it? What are the strategies?
Right. Rule number 4 in the book, he offers a few different philosophies because, one size doesn't fit all.
Okay, like what?
There's the monastic approach, basically trying to eliminate or radically minimize shallow obligations altogether. Think of someone like Neil Stephenson, who famously avoided email for long periods.
Pretty extreme for most people, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Then there's bimodal. This is where you alternate between defined stretches of intense, uninterrupted deep work.
Like locking yourself away for days or weeks.
Could be. Or like Adam Grant, who structures his academic work bimodally by semester teaching shallow work one semester, deep research the next, or even shorter multi-day retreats. And then you have periods where you're fully open to the shallow stuff.
So distinct modes. What else?
The rhythmic philosophy, this is probably more accessible for many. It's about building a regular daily habit of deep work, like same time every morning, maybe using a chain method to track consistency.
Turning it into a routine.
Exactly. And finally, the journalistic approach. This means fitting deep work in whenever you can find an unexpected pocket of time in your schedule. It requires being able to switch into deep mode quickly.
Newport used this one himself while writing, right?
Yeah, he mentions doing that. It's flexible, but probably requires more discipline to shift gears on demand.
And beyond the philosophy, he talks rituals.
Yes, creating deep work rituals is key, regardless of your overall philosophy. Define where you'll work, for how long, and the rules, like no internet, maybe specific music, or a cup of coffee beforehand.
Setting the stage for your brain.
Totally. It trains your brain to transition. And he mentions grand gestures.
Like J.K. Rowling checking into a fancy hotel to finish Harry Potter.
Exactly. Making a significant investment or change signals the importance of the work to yourself, making it easier to commit and focus.
Does it always have to be solitary? What about collaboration?
Good question. He acknowledges collaboration is important, but suggests a hub-and-spoke model can be effective.
Meaning?
You have periods of interaction, brainstorming, getting new ideas, the hub, but then you retreat to process those ideas deeply on your own, the spokes. You need both exposure and solitary processing.
Okay, so different models, rituals, gestures. Then he talks about execution, almost like running a business.
Yeah, applying principles from the business world, specifically from the 4 disciplines of execution to personal productivity.
Discipline 1.
Focus on the wildly important goal. Or WIG. Don't diffuse your deep work energy across too many things. Pick 1 or maybe 2 ambitious goals that truly require deep work.
Be specific and focused. Discipline 2.
Act on the lead measures. This is crucial. Don't just track the outcome, the lag measure like papers published. Track the behavior that leads to the outcome, the lead measure.
So tracking the actual hours spent in deep work.
Exactly. Newport mentions he keeps a tally of his deep work hours. That's the lever you can actually control day to day.
Okay.
Discipline 3.
Keep a compelling scoreboard. Make your progress on that lead measure visible. Seeing the hours stack up provides motivation and feedback, like that hour tally Newport keeps.
Visual feedback loop. And the 4th discipline ties into accountability, which he also mentions.
Right. Creating some cadence of accountability, reviewing progress regularly. He also strongly advocates for fixed schedule productivity.
Meaning setting a hard stop time for your workday, like finishing at 5 p.m. no matter what.
Yeah. The idea is that imposing limits forces you to be more efficient and ruthless about prioritizing deep work during the available time. Creates a helpful scarcity mindset.
So how do you actually reduce the shallow stuff to make time? He offers practical tactics. Time blocking is a big one. Schedule your entire day in advance, in blocks, deciding what you'll work on when. Even schedule shallow work and breaks.
Be intentional about every minute.
Pretty much. He also suggests estimating the depth of tasks, like asking yourself, How long would it take to train a smart, recent college grad to do this task?
If it's quick to train, it's likely shallow. If it takes extensive training, it's deeper.
Exactly, a rough heuristic. And he even suggests trying to negotiate a shallow work budget with your boss. Quantify how much time shallow tasks take and discuss limiting them.
That takes some guts, maybe, but could be effective. And email.
Yeah, managing email is key. Using sender filters, being more thoughtful about how you reply, answering all anticipated questions at once to reduce back and forth, and crucially, not feeling obligated to respond to every email.
Okay, that's a lot of great stuff. Let's boil it down. What are the top actionable takeaways someone listening can start with?
Okay, 3 key things. First, identify your main deep work goal and actually start tracking your time.
So pick that one wildly important goal and get honest about how many hours of real focused work you're putting towards it each week. Use a tally, a timer, whatever works.
Exactly. That lead measure the hours is your starting point. Know your baseline.
Got it. Takeaway number 2.
Schedule dedicated blocks for deep work and create a ritual around them.
Figure out which philosophy, rhythmic, bimodal, whatever might fit your life. Then actually put deep work sessions on your calendar. Treat them like important meetings.
Yeah, non-negotiable appointments.
Yeah.
And develop that pre-work ritual. Same place, maybe same drink. Turn off notifications. Signal to your brain, okay, it's focus time now.
Makes the transition easier. Okay, third takeaway.
Actively minimize shallow work and be really intentional about your network tools.
So analyze your tasks. What's truly shallow? Try to reduce time spent there. And for things like social media, email, apply what Newport calls the craftsman approach.
Right. For each tool, ask, does this tool's benefit for my core goals significantly outweigh its negatives, like distraction? Be critical. Only keep the tools that offer substantial, concrete value.
He even suggests like a 30-day detox from some tools to reassess their actual importance, right?
Yeah, a social media packing party, he calls it. A trial separation to see if you truly miss it or need it for your key activities.
Right. Really deliberate choices about where your attention goes.
That's the essence of it.
Okay, wow. So we've really just scratched the surface here, but those are some core ideas from deep work. It's a compelling argument for reclaiming focus.
Absolutely. Cal Newport lays out a strong case and a practical roadmap. We really hope you, the listener, take these ideas and think about how you could bring more deep work into your own life.
Imagine the difference it could make, the skills you could build, the projects you could finish, maybe even just feeling more engaged and satisfied.
It's definitely worth exploring.
So if this sparked your interest and you want the full picture, all the detailed strategies and reasoning, we definitely recommend getting the book.
Deep Work: Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World by Cal Newport.
We'll put a link to purchase it in the description below. Thanks so much for joining us on AI Book Highlights.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time.